AITA for not wanting my wife to do surrogacy? My 34M wife Olivia, 32F, was asked by her sister Sophia, 29F, if she could be her surrogate. Sophia has struggled with infertility for years, and she and her husband have been wanting a kid for a long time. Olivia and I have 4 sons, 10, 5, 5, 3, and don't plan on having more children. Olivia wants to do this for her sister and already agreed to it before discussing it with me. After Olivia gave birth to our youngest, she suffered from postpartum depression. I'm worried that this might happen again, and not to mention the toll it will take on her body. I talked with her and told her my concerns, but she got defensive and began yelling at me, telling me that I'm a horrible person for not wanting to help Sophia and her husband after they've struggled for so long. I told her that I wanted them to be able to have a kid, but there were other options that didn't involve her. She shouted some more and stormed out of the house and didn't come back until the morning. I messaged Sophia's husband, Dean, as he and I get along really well. I told him how I felt about the situation, and he completely understood and told me he'd talk to Sophia. He messaged me later that night and told me that he had tried to change Sophia's mind, but she wouldn't listen. When Olivia came home from work that night, she stormed up to me and slapped me. She told me that Sophia said Dean didn't want to follow through with the surrogacy because of me, and Sophia was really upset about it. Olivia called me selfish and told me to get over it because she's doing it regardless of how I feel. I've given up talking to her about it because I don't want her to get more angry. She's been sleeping in the guest bedroom, and I'm pretty sure she's only staying at the house because of the boys. We barely talk, and she doesn't even look at me. I got a message from Dean saying they've got an appointment later this week to begin the process. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't want to see her go through what she did again. I guess there's nothing I can do though, she's already made up her mind. Update. I've been reading the comments on my first post for the last several days, and I'm feeling a mix of emotions from them. There are things I need to address, so I'll do that now before I get into what's been happening since that post. To start off, many people have noticed that I haven't replied to anyone's comments and are calling me out for it. To be honest, I didn't plan on answering any comments. I've seen posts where the OP doesn't reply to anyone, so I didn't think it was a big deal. The comments were very overwhelming as well. I've seen a lot of comments saying that this is fake, and honestly, I wish it was, but it isn't. I would never lie about something like this. I'm not the type of guy to do that. And the reason my account is new is because I didn't want to post anything on my main account. There have also been messages I've received that have been less than kind and haven't helped in the slightest with what's been happening. The things people have sent me are really hurtful and disgusting. And I've noticed people calling me an a-hole for going behind Olivia's back and talking to Dean. The reason I spoke to Dean was because any time I tried to talk to Olivia, she would ignore me and walk away. Sophia wasn't even an option. She hasn't liked me since Olivia and I began dating. I have no idea why, but she's always been rude to me, and I knew if I talked to her about this, it wouldn't go well. And the thing that everyone has been talking about. The abuse. So this wasn't the first time Olivia has hit me. This started a few months before our oldest was born. It happened out of nowhere. I talked to her about it, and she promised it wouldn't happen again, but it did. Every time she would hit me, she'd apologize afterwards, but soon, she stopped apologizing. I did try to stand up to her, but whenever I did, she hit me harder and said she'd scream if I did anything. I told her I'd go to the police, and she said she'd claim it was self-defense. She then began to mock me by saying that no one would ever believe me, and they'd all side with her, and I'd never see my boys again. It just got worse as the years passed. I know a lot of people will call me weak and that I need to grow a pair, but I was terrified. I didn't want to lose my kids. They mean everything to me. And if I had to put up with the abuse to be with them, then I would. Olivia has never touched the boys. I asked her one time if she had, and let's just say that didn't end well. I've checked them for marks and have seen nothing. And the boys are hardly out of my sight, and I haven't seen anything amiss. She has also never hit me in front of them. She always does it when they're not around. My 2 older brothers, Sam and Jack, figured out what was happening and begged me to go to the police, but I couldn't. I asked them not to say anything, but my oldest brother, Sam, has a friend who's a lawyer, and I found out only recently that they've been talking to him about it and have been secretly telling him when they notice I have a new mark or when something happens. Back to the main problem, though. I hadn't seen Olivia for almost 2 days, and when she came back, I asked if we could talk. The boys were with Jack for the day, so they weren't in the house. She went to walk away again, but I stepped in front of her and said that we needed to talk. This was the first time I'd stood up to her in years, and I was scared as hell. She looked shocked, but then she put the scowl back on and huffed out a fine. I had my phone beside me and recorded the conversation. We sat on the couch, and I told her again how I felt about the surrogacy. She kept rolling her eyes and scoffing every time I said something. I told her I was worried about how it would affect our family. I brought up the PPD again, and she got angry. She started yelling at me, telling me it was my fault that she had it and that I should never have gotten her pregnant. Every kid except for our oldest, who wasn't planned, was her idea. That's not to say that I didn't want my boys, I did, but I didn't have a say about it. She called me a horrible father and husband and said that I should support her. I said that if she goes through with the surrogacy, I won't be supporting her as it's not my kid. She got mad, hit me, called me an a-hole, hit me again and left the house. I called Sam, asked if he could come over and waited for him to arrive. When he got to my house, I just broke down. I told him everything about what's been going on. The abuse, the surrogacy, the self-harm and thoughts about deleting. He hugged me and told me it would be all right and everything would work out. This is when he told me about his lawyer friend and how he and Jack have been talking to him. I told him I recorded the conversation with Olivia, and he said he'd send it to his friend, along with a photo of the bruise from when she hit me before, and a few other marks as well. I had given up years ago, and my kids were the only thing keeping me going. I've suffered from depression and self-harm, which I still do, and I think if I didn't have my boys, I wouldn't be here. I'm finally standing up for myself, and it feels really good. I'm going to divorce her and go for full custody. I just hope the courts won't take her side. And I just want to thank everyone who has been really kind about this, especially the people who messaged me. I haven't replied to all of them, but just know that I appreciate it so much.